Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper, and today is our follow-up video of the etching press rollers. That was the rollers I did on Saturday, and I just want to, first off, we're going to address all the questions and comments the best we can and answer any questions, but I want to say first off, that was a terrible design. For the diameter of that roller, the thickness of that shell, for the application it's going in, that shaft was way too small. But this was designed by somebody else who has made several of them and sold them things, and they work. So my customer had this drawing from this guy and he wanted to stick with that, which is fine. But again, that shaft was way too small for the application. And I hope it works out. I really do. I worry about the weight or the heaviness of that shaft. It's just too flimsy for what it is. So, a lot of great questions and comments, a lot of dumb ones as usual, a lot of stupid, just derogatory. Few people got blocked from the channel, is what it is. But we don't need that kind of crap here. We're focused on the questions and the comments, the good ones, answering the really good questions. And there were a lot of really good questions. So let's dive into that. So a lot of questions and comments on, the vibration, the harmonics, all that. And as you saw, I dampened the harmonics with that 2x4, and that helped a lot. The only thing that would have cured that, the only thing that would have made that better, and I've done almost probably 1,000 rollers in my time, the only thing that would have fixed that whole problem would have been a bigger shaft. All around bigger shaft. That just was too flimsy, so that was causing all the problems. That bigger shaft would have just, it was flexing in there. That was the whole thing. That's what's going on, and it was ringing through the tube. So that's what's going on. I've seen it before on a bad design years ago, and we got rid of that and changed the design up, and that changed everything. But again, that's all it is. A lot of people had commented on using a positive rake insert versus the negative rake insert that I use for everything. I use a lot of negative rake inserts. Quite honestly, I don't know if I have any positive rake inserts in the shop right now. I don't have much need for them. When I do, I'll order them, but considering what's going on in my region right now, there hasn't been a lot of work coming in. A lot of places are closing up. So I don't have the money to be investing in tooling right now, so I'm trying to work with what I have on hand to continue doing the jobs that do come in until I need to invest in tooling, at which time I'm hoping things will be a little better in our country and the prices will be coming down a little bit. So we're trying to just get through everything as much as I can, burn up some excess inventory of tooling, and then make a little investment again. So I don't spend a lot on tooling each year, but it does add up. So a positive rake insert, and I'll put a picture up here and explain this between the positive and the negative. The negative is more of a square shoulder, so you tip it down, and a positive, you can come into it more at an angle and it'll peel the material off, less cutting force. A positive rake insert would have definitely improved this. But again, that shaft was so flimsy, so wimpy, I don't think it would have cured anything. I think it would have still been a problem. I would have probably had to continue to use the 2x4 to, knock that vibration out. And I just don't feel it would have changed anything. So many of you caught it that when the chatter started, I swore at the part. I did not edit that out. That is a real world scenario. When stuff happens, you get frustrated, you get angry, and you swear at it. You got to take that frustration out or it'll eat you. And there were a lot of comments. The guys were, appreciative of me leaving that in to show the real side of it, how frustrating that can be, how aggravating and infuriating. And then there were there were several comments of people saying I'm a moron because I swear, it'll never get you anywhere in life, blah, 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 blah. Get a life, seriously. What do you expect? Do you want me to go home and beat my dog or my wife? Come on. Swearing at the part, if you've never worked in a machine shop in your life, it sounds like a bunch of drunken sailors when you're all together. Everybody's swearing at something. The F-bombs here, and it's just constant. it's it really is the way it is in a machine shop. There's a lot of anger, frustration, working at tight tolerances. It's very nerve-wracking. So you got to take that frustration out somehow. I left that in because that shows just how frustrating this stuff really is. Chatter is very frustrating. It's once you get it started, it's hard to get it out. So by leaving that little bit in the video, I think I conveyed just how much that is a problem. And so showing the ways I combated it, I got mad, I walked away, I came back, and we came up with a solution. That's how it works. That's how it really is in the real world. And if you don't like swearing, I don't do it much in my videos, but when I do, there is a reason. And if you don't like it, well, then you live in a dark cave in the Stone Age, because I know guys who are very religious who, when nobody's looking, swear like a drunken sailor too. So get with the times. That's all I have to say about that. I mean, this is the real world here. So don't like it, too bad. All right, a little rant over there. There was some people who commented about the little bit of wobble in the plates. The only way to really fix that would have been a thicker plate. I reamed those, they will fit on there tight, but when you weld them, that 1/4-inch plate will move. And it's just the way it is. Does it affect anything? Absolutely not. Because they're welded inside of the tube, and the center one, all it's there for is that flimsy shaft. When you put pressure on it, it's going to flex. It's going to flex internally in that tube. That's there to stop that. That's all it is. It doesn't do anything else. So the little bit of wobble that you saw on those plates doesn't affect anything. I've taken apart rollers that customers have brought me that somebody else made, that them plates are leaning in there almost a 30-degree angle. I mean, they're really crooked. They just machine them true and slide them in. It doesn't matter. All it's there is a guide, really, when you're assembling it and finding center. So it doesn't do anything but that, except for that center one that is there for that flimsy little shaft. That was our whole problem. I had a couple suggestions also with that center disc, was to drill some holes around the tube and plug weld and then machine that off, which I've done that before for other jobs, other rollers, but with as tight as I machined that, I was within about less than 10 thousandths. There isn't going to be that much difference. So even if I welded that, I still would have had that harmonic problem. It wouldn't have changed anything. So it all comes right down to that shaft. It's just too small, way too small. And that's what she said. And in the video, I gave away my biggest secret about making these things, which, not welding all the way around the shaft. That has bit me in the butt in the past, and we learned from that. We came up with a solution, and I've cut apart a lot of rollers that others have made, and nobody ever does that. So as soon as I started doing that, thinking about it and looking at the heat affected zone, by moving that heat affected zone longitudinally on the shaft instead of all the way around radially, I think I said that right, we eliminate that heat affected zone and the embrittlement of the steel and the cracking. So all the shafts that I've had to cut apart and redo for customers from somebody else making them have never done that. And when I redid them, they've never had a failure. Take that back. They've had failures, but it's from spinning bearings and not from, from lack of lubrication or something. So it's not from a failure of a broken shaft since I started doing that. So that really cured the whole problem there. And a lot of you really liked that idea and caught the idea, and just a couple of guys had commented how they've made rollers, lots of rollers before, but never did it that way, but it made sense. That's something that we started doing about, I'd like to say 3 or 5 years ago, after dealing with some failures of another company's rollers. And then I had one roller of mine that failed after welding, and it was a high stress application. Did not know it either. The customer didn't specify. And when it failed, then I went down to their facility. We walked through, looked at all, and it's like, okay, this is what's going on. You got a bigger problem here. We're putting way too much stress on this shaft, and it's not supported properly internally. So it was cracking at the weld. It happens, and by doing what I did, that cured that. And moving forward, I will always build my rollers the same way. It just cures that little issue. You don't have that issue moving forward. So again, the big problem with the whole thing was that flimsy little shaft. I've said it, I don't know how many times in this video. And knowing that moving forward, I always suggest to the customers going bigger if it's possible. In this case, he could have gone bigger, but he had already sourced the bearings, and so it kind of was a bad deal for me because I had to machine it. They came out great. They got to the customer. He's happy. They are getting plated probably right now, so they should be in service before long for an etching press, which is kind of an artist tool for photography. They do plates and then press the ink on the plates into paper is how I understand it. If you're interested, you can look up on YouTube. There's lots of videos of it. It's actually kind of a neat process, and it makes a really neat black and white photo is what I understand. And the ones I've seen have been black and white. I don't know if you can do color, but it's really a cool setup. But again, that shaft was just too small, too flimsy. And some people had commented going bigger and then turning the shaft down afterwards. That may have worked, but you're adding more steps, and to get the customer to approve that, you're adding more cost. So this is what he wanted, this is what he got. I'm sure it's going to work out just fine, but like I said, that shaft was the whole problem. So with that, I'm going to end it here. I'm not going to go on another rant about people complaining because I was swearing, but screw you. And until next time, which is Saturday, and if you're following my channel, I do have a Patreon page, and I will upload the video on the Patreon a day early. So if you're a Patreon member, you can get it a day early. I'm going to start doing that now. I've had the Patreon for a while and just haven't had time to think about how to use it and how it works. So check that out. I hope it works out. You guys that pay for a membership there get early access a day early, and then everybody else will get it on Saturday morning as normal. And we'll just do the Saturday videos on there. We'll do the follow-ups, keep it right here. And until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.